aan het studeren en wil je daarnaast wat extra bijverdienen? Dan heb ik een advies voor je. Hey, mijn naam is Winston en ik ben van een blutte personal trainer naar een succesvolle verkooprobot.
The saying goes that God created the earth, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. In this video, I'm going to show you how. Today, in 2021, the Netherlands looks like this, but in 1300, it looked like this. Today, about half of the Netherlands is reclaimed land. The inhabitants of this land that is today modern-day Netherlands have been reclaiming land since at least the 14th century. Some of it was reclaimed by draining lakes, but most of it was acquired by taking it back from the sea. But it hasn't been easy. It's taken generations of engineers, many failures, and at least 600 years worth of experimentation for the country to finally be winning its war against the sea. The country sits on the coast of the North Sea and is extremely low in elevation, the lowest country in Europe. The Netherlands doesn't even have a single mountain. Its tallest point stands at just over 1,000 feet. The name Netherlands itself literally means lowland in Dutch. Today, 26% of the country sits below sea level, and only about half of the country sits more than 1 meter above sea level. The country also lies along the delta of several major European rivers. Combined, these physical characteristics have made the Netherlands into one of the most flood-prone countries in the world. Some of these floods resulted in tens of thousands of deaths. One flood in 1530, known as St. Felix's Flood, killed over 100,000 people. These floods, combined with wind, caused the Netherlands coastline to change constantly, and at times quite dramatically. St. Felix's Flood washed 18 villages into the sea, leaving one city stranded on an island before that too was eventually abandoned due to flooding in the following years. But the Dutch fought back. They built dikes to protect the land from being lost, and they took it a step further and built what are called polders. Polders are a piece of reclaimed land from the sea or river. They are created by first building dikes around a wetland. Water is then pumped out of the center. Historically, this was done with windmills. Today, this is done with electric pumps. Reeds are then sown. Today, this is done by aircraft. This helps the soil form. After 3 years, reeds are burnt and the ash is used as fertilizer for the soil. After a period of up to 15 years, the polder is ready for growing crops, building houses, and constructing roads. These polders are continually maintained to keep from becoming waterlogged from ground and rainwater. Water is pumped out into canals or drained off through side gates. All of this draining causes these polders to sink further below sea level. Much of the Netherlands is covered in peat. When the peat is dehydrated, it exposes the peat to oxygen from the air, which causes it to decompose. From 1200 to 1900 AD, the Dutch reclaimed a total of 1,285,000 acres from lakes and the sea, but lost 1,400,000 acres of land to the Zuiderzee, a shallow bay of the North Sea. Over the next 100 years, the battle between the Dutch and the sea continued, but the Dutch would finally come out ahead by the end of the 20th century. But again, this wasn't without more hardship. In January of 1916, a winter storm broke dikes in several places along the Zuiderzee. At the same time, there was a food shortage due to World War I. This was enough for full public and government has been replaced by freshwater fish. Followed suit, with the last one being completed in 1967. These two polders are now home to over 400,000 people and are its own province, called Flevoland, which was officially formed in 1986. Though heavily populated, these polders stick to their original purpose of being mostly used as farmland. These polders have turned this small nation into the second largest food exporter in the world, only sitting behind the United States. Quite impressive for being the 16th densest country in the world and the densest country in Europe. But this modern engineering feat did not end the Netherlands' troubles in the southern Delta region. In 1953, another catastrophic flood hit the country. Strong winds from a storm combined with a high spring tide over the North Sea caused a storm tide. The combination of wind, high tide, and low pressure overwhelmed most sea defenses, breaching dikes and flooding land up to 18.5 feet above mean sea level. The flood caused widespread damage and 1,836 people in the Netherlands were killed, most of which were in the areas that already relied on sea defenses but had failed. The flood covered 9% of Dutch farmland, an estimated 30,000 animals drowned, and 47,300 buildings were damaged, of which 10,000 were either swept away or had to be taken down from extensive damage. The total damage is estimated to have been the modern-day equivalent of $5.5 billion. The Dutch created a new plan to prevent a flood of this severity from happening again. They called it Delta Works. While the Zuiderzee Works was largely for land reclamation, the Delta Plan's purpose was largely defensive. Together, these two works are one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. This project would be a series of dams. All of the dikes in the Netherlands failed, it would look like this. This would include the flooding of Netherlands' capital city, Amsterdam, which is home to over 800,000 people, and altogether 1.5 million people in the surrounding urban area. When Amsterdam was founded around the 12th and 13th centuries, it was located in swampy and unstable land around the Amstel River, so structures could not be built without the risk of them sinking. The residents solved this issue by inserting wooden piles into the ground. Canals were then dug between the structures for transportation and water management. Today, these canals are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So what does the future hold for the Netherlands? Will the Netherlands continue to win its battle against the sea? And will they continue to engineer and create their own landscape? Well, in 2016, the creation process began to construct the Marker Wadden, a group of islands designed to establish nature reserves as a replacement to the never-built polder. However, no human occupation is planned for this polder. In 2011, a Dutch journalist jokingly wrote that the Netherlands should build a mountain so its winter sports competitors don't have to train in another country. But that wasn't something to joke about to the Dutch population. They actually considered it. But it was estimated to cost $7 trillion, take 30 years, and the mountain's weight would sink the surrounding area. On a more serious note, sea levels are expected to rise due to climate change and will eventually be more than what the current dikes in the country were built to handle. To solve this problem, a Dutch scientist has proposed constructing 2 massive dams in the English Channel and the North Sea, though this may not be a realistic solution. To fight climate change, the Dutch are raising the dikes they already have, widening rivers, giving them more room to overflow, and to a lesser extent are building floating houses. Hopefully this will be enough. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button for more geography related videos. Thank you for watching.